This is the video tutorial for the math performance test. We're going to sign into the practice test, keeping everything as guessed. We're selecting 5th grade as the other tutorials just because it's sort of right in the middle. And we're going to the grade 5 math performance test, practice test. As before, keep all the settings the same. These will be pre-designated and set before the test. Scroll down to the bottom and click yes to start the test and begin test now. Now, before discussing the actual content of a performance task in math, let's review the buttons that are on here. Up at the top, we have the zoom in button and the zoom out button, the magnifying glasses. So you zoom in with the plus sign and out with the minus sign. You see that there's a calculator here, but as before, these are available only for particular grades. You see the 3 lines here on both sides. There's the setting or the situation that they're going to give you, the problem that you're going to solve. And then over here is where you do the work. Okay, so on the left-hand side, if you click the 3 lines, you'll see that there's highlight selection. So this is where you can go through and highlight parts that are important for you to use to solve your problem. And on the other side, when you click the 3 lines, you have mark for review, which means that you're going to flag something that you're struggling with so that you can come back to it later. There's the notepad where you can take notes, but you're also strongly encouraged to get a piece of actual paper and a pencil because you can draw and make pictures and diagrams and things that just aren't possible on an embedded online notepad. Remember to, with the notepad, if you do make notes on here, remember to save and close. Otherwise, all your notes will go away. Also on the 3 lines here, there's comment, the comment bubble, and this is in case there are problems that you find in the test. If there's no right answer, or you see these other things, if there's grammatical errors, if there's translation errors, if there's words that are misspelled, this is where you can click and tell them exactly what's going on and save and close. But remember, no matter what you see, no matter what, even if you find a mistake, you don't tell the teacher in the middle of the test. The only thing you can do is go to the comment box here and make the comment so the test creators know about it and they can fix it later. There's nothing we can do in the middle of the test. So over here, we're going to look at this as an example of a performance task in math, but of course they'll all be different for different grades. Community garden. Your class is going to plant vegetables in a section of the local community garden. The garden manager has provided an area to plant the vegetables as follows. The total area for the class to plant vegetables will be a rectangle 40 feet long and 30 feet wide. The class has decided to plant 4 rectangular sections of the class garden with vegetables according to this plan. 1/4 of the garden will be planted with carrots. 1/6 of the garden will be planted with potatoes. 1/8 of the garden will be planted with broccoli, and 1/12 of the garden will be planted with corn. In this task, you will analyze the class plan and determine an alternate plan that will help make the most use of the available area. So over here, where you're going to be doing your work, using the Connect Line tool, draw rectangles on this model of the garden to represent the 4 rectangular sections for planting vegetables, according to the class plan. The garden model is divided into 5 feet by 5 feet sections. Okay, so use whole number side lengths. Each square on the model represents 1 square foot. Drag the correct label that shows the vegetable for each section. Okay, so first of all, so let's think about this. Let's go up here and think about how much room we have, the area of the place. And they say that it's going to be, the garden's going to be a rectangle 40 feet long and 30 feet wide. I need to remember that. So I'm going to highlight that. It's 40 feet long, 30 feet wide. So if you go across, that doesn't make sense at first because 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Well, there it does. If you're counting by fives, it does. Okay? So, and then 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Okay? So 40 feet across, 30 down, and it says each square on the model represents 1 square foot. Well, when they talk about squares, they're talking about the little tiny ones. Each one is 1 square foot, okay? Which means each one of these, each one of the bigger squares with the dark outlines is 5 feet by 5 feet. So that helps us too, okay? Remember, be careful not to click reset highlighting. Okay, so altogether, okay, 40 feet across, 30 feet down, if you multiply that, the area of the whole thing, okay, is 40 feet by 30 feet. And here we can show some work that you can do on scratch paper. You can see my work on the scratch paper. Okay. Okay, so I'm thinking, and you see I like to draw. It helps me think. And so this is what I'm talking about, getting a piece of scratch paper and a pencil, because there's some things you just can't do on the notepad that they give you in the test. So it's 40 feet long, 30 feet wide. You see, don't see how I scribble things out when I get confused? Don't worry about the eraser. Erasers wear out way faster than the tips of pencils. So they're just your notes. No one's going to see them but you. You make a mistake, scribble it out, start over, turn your paper over. It doesn't matter. Don't worry about erasing things. So 40 times 30 is 1,200. I know that's because 3 times 4 is 12. And then add on the zeros, 1,200 square feet in the whole thing. And then they said each little tiny square is 1 foot square, and each of the bigger ones is 5 across, 5 down. Okay. So you saw me doing some working out things by 1,200, but it's way easier to go by 48. And that's how many 5 by 5 squares there are. Okay, so I'm going to go by that because it's easier to do the multiplication that way. So let's look at this. 1/4 of these 48 squares. Okay, well, if you do the 1/4 of 48, you get 12. So that biggest amount here, carats, 1/4 of it will be 12 of these 5 by 5 foot squares. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you're going to want to click here, add your points around that whole section. Oops, right there. And then do your connecting lines. Right on there and up to the top. Oops, that's yucky. Okay, I don't like that. I'm going to delete that and do that one line over again. Okay, so this section, you click on the name in the side and drag it to the middle. Okay, so that's how that works. These you click and drag them around, put them where you want them to be. 1/6 of the garden will be planted with potatoes. I do my work. 1/6 of 48 is 8. So 8 of those 5 by 5 squares, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm going to add my points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, there, and there, and there, and connect those lines. And there's my potatoes. And the broccoli is 1/8, would be 6 squares. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Boom, boom. And down. Okay, that was kind of weird. I'm going to delete that one. Okay, so 1/6 is, no, 1/8 is broccoli. And then finally 1/12 of the garden is corn, and 1/12 is 4. Now, at first I was going to make it go like here, like up 3 and over So 1, 2, 3, 4 of those 5 by 5 squares, right? But then I remembered up here, and I'm talking about be careful when you do the reading, draw rectangles on this model. Okay, draw rectangles to represent the 4 rectangular sections. Aha! So my deciding to go 1, 2, 3, 4 and go over like an upside down L was a mistake. And I would get that wrong because they specifically said rectangles. So instead I'm going to go this way, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we've got a nice, neat rectangle. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Have my points and connecting lines. Hate it when they don't touch. Okay, and there's my corn. Okay, and then how much is left is easy to see because it's all just one big rectangle of 3 by 6, which is 18. 3 times 6 is 18, so there's 18 5 by 5 foot squares left. Okay, so there's that. Now think about the class plan. What fraction of the garden plot will be left over after the class plants their vegetables? Well, we've got 18 squares out of how many? We had 48 total. So again, I'm going over here. We've got 18 left, 18 of those 5 by 5 foot squares, and 18 48ths, 18 out of 48 total, gives us 3/8. So there's the fraction of the garden that we have left over, okay, 3/8. And I could either type it by typing 3 and then the slash on the keyboard and then 8, or you could click the fraction tool here, put 3 on the top, 8 on the bottom. Either way. Now we go down. Your class has decided to plant potatoes in the unused portion of the garden plot. What total fraction of the garden will be planted with potatoes? Remember that 1/6 of the garden is already planted with potatoes. Enter your response in the first response box. So notice that there are 2 boxes here. 1, 2. Here's part A, here's part B. So you're going to put the fraction of the garden that'll be potatoes once you add the rest of the unused space. And then how many total square feet of the class garden plot will be planted with potatoes. So remember, then we're talking about not just 5 by 5 foot squares, 48 of them, but we're gonna multiply and find the whole entire square feet that will have potatoes. So first let's find out the fraction. Let's go back to our model and we're going to say, okay, all of these are also going to be potatoes. So go ahead and notice that you can put the words twice in an area. So we've got 18 of these squares plus 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. We've got 26 out of the 48 being potatoes. Okay, let's use our notepad here. 26 out of 48. So what fraction of that, of the garden, is potatoes? That would be, let's see, I'm doing it in my head, so I'm gonna just cut them in half first just to make it easier for me. So half of 26 is 13, and half of 48 is 24. Now, I have to be honest with you, 13 24ths, and that's as small as you can make it. You can't reduce it anymore. It looks weird to me. It makes me wonder if that could be true. So I'm going to check my work. And so looking at the model, there's 26 5 by 5 foot squares that make up the potatoes. And when I multiplied 25 times 26, I got 650 square feet. And 650 square feet out of the total 1,200 square feet does end up being 13 24ths. So weird as it looks, I am going to stick with that answer. I stand by it. I can also double check my work another way by adding up the fractions. When we started out the garden, it was 1/6 of the garden was potatoes. That's what they told us. And then we added the extra that was left over in the garden, which was 3/8. Well, 3/8 plus 1/6 ends up being 26 48ths, just like we got before. which reduces down to 13/24. So we've shown in a couple different ways the same answer. Okay, now going back to our problem, we figured out the top, we've confirmed it, we're sticking with our answer. The total fraction of the garden that's potatoes is 13/26 of the garden. Okay, now they want to know how many total square feet of the class garden plot will be planted with potatoes. Well, actually, if we go back to the 48 squares, we had 26. 26 of these squares. We've got all of these, 18, and then here, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. 26 of these 5 by 5 squares is potatoes. So let's look at our notepad. 26 times, how many are in each one of those little, each one of these 5 by 5 squares? There's 25. 5 by 5 is 25. So 25. Okay. Now we're going to have to figure that out. 26 times 25. And depending on what grade you're in, you're not going to have a calculator. So once again, it's time to use scratch paper. I'm just going to show you with my tool here that I use to draw online. So I'm going to just erase all of this. Yes, and then let's look. 26 squares are potatoes, and there's 25 square feet in each one of those 5 by 5 foot bigger squares. 5 times 6 is 30. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 3 is 130. 2 times 6 is 12. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. 0, 5, 6. So there it is, 650 square feet are in our garden. 650. There we are down here, 650, and it won't even let you type square feet, just 650. That already has total square feet. Now going down here, using the new plan with more potatoes, write an equation to show that the total area of the class's garden is used to grow, vegetables. Make sure the equation shows that the sum of the areas in square feet of each section equals the total area of the class's garden. And remember, we said that the total area of the whole garden was 1,200 square feet. Okay, so what do we have? We figured out that the carrots were 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. 12 of 48, because there was 48 square 5 by 5 foot squares. Okay, plus the potatoes. Let's not do the potatoes yet because there's more potatoes over here. Let's just go for the smaller ones. There's 6 5 by 5 foot squares of the broccoli, so 6 48ths plus the corn, which is 4 48ths, plus all the potatoes, which was 18 here, plus the 8 over here, which was 26. Okay, 26 of the 48. So we're going to add those all together, add the tops, denominator stays the same. Okay, so we've got 26, 6 plus 4 is 10, so let's make that 36, 46, 47, 48. What do you know? It added up. 48 over 48, and everybody knows that if the denominator and the numerator are the same, it equals 1. 1 full garden full of vegetables. And now when we click on Next, select the End Test button to review your answers. Okay? And that's it. It's just everything in the math performance task is all together. They give you one situation to work on and then some different problems to work on. It's like, imagine if you were an actual contractor building a house. You know, there's many different situations that you would have to solve and figure out, and they would change as you go. If you were a chef taking care of a big dinner party, that would be lots of different mathematical problems to solve. So that's what the math performance tasks are, is they give you a situation and then a whole bunch of different things to have to figure out involving that situation. I would say that your most important tool is your paper and your pencil. At least it was for me. And there you have it.